joining us today is a Tennessee star, J. Curtis Miller, who wrote, directed, produced the movie MK Ultraviolence. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on getting your film into the Nashville Film Festival.
Thank you.
That's a huge accomplishment. Go ahead and pitch it to me.
MK Ultraviolence is a short horror film set in the late 60s. It's about this Vietnam veteran named Hopper who's riddled with PTSD. Homeless, and he's just kind of like living on the streets in an alleyway. And one day he's picked up by this charismatic undercover agent named Reese. And he gives him a bite to eat, promises him that, like, I see you've basically been in the war, you don't look great. And then he just kind of starts, like, promising him, like, if you come with me, I'll repair your mind. But what Hopper doesn't know is, like, what he's going to do with his mind is, like, piece it back together in a more sinister way.
Yeah, okay. So. Not good for Hopper.
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch.
Welcome to Project Bluebird. If you're listening to this tape, then you must have recently gone through a traumatic experience. Your mind has been shattered, and we're here to help pick up the pieces. We want you to lose your state of being, and then come back fully into our reality.
A new man. You hungry?
Okay.
Cool.
So that's super intense.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with where did you get the idea for MK Ultraviolence?
So I've always been kind of fascinated with the American history and American culture in the late 60s going into the 70s. I think during that time, American cinema was at its best because a lot of independent filmmakers kind of like had their chance to kind of make these very kind of bold movies that were inspired by like French New Wave and just all sorts of stuff. And during that time it was just a very turbulent time in American history. You had the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, and along with obviously the assassination of JFK. So there's just a lot of distrust in American institutions and governments.
Well, now too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so basically, like, I've just from a broad standpoint, I've always just been fascinated with that, and I've always kind of wanted to play in that world. And I picked up a book called Chaos by Tom O'Neill, and I read that through the pandemic, and that kind of split my brain in two because that was kind of like my introduction more thoroughly into the MK Ultra program. So I was like, well, that's super cool, and I love the filmmaking aspect of the 70s and late 60s, and I thought, like, well, maybe I can make something almost like into a slasher using this kind of historical background.
Yes, I had to look up MK Ultra because
Yeah.
I didn't know much about it. But there is a historical aspect to it.
Yeah.
And then you kind of took that and created this fictional story based on what you learned. It's very, very, very intense sounding.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you from getting the idea to writing the screenplay and then having it become a movie? And you can talk me through just the beginning of getting the idea.
Sure. So with all that kind of background information just already kind of logged into my brain, I just had I had it almost like instantly when I was just kind of like driving home one day, having like, I think I was rereading the book at the time, like just through Audible. I was like, and it kind of just happened like really quick. And that's when like the inspiration starts. And I immediately had to kind of just like write it down. I wrote the outline first on my phone, and I think I don't really have a process, but that's kind of like how I do it first, because I just want to see if like, boom, 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 can this happen?
Okay.
And I send it to friends, and then if they think it's sick, then I'm going to proceed and kind of like digging even further.
So is this like half a page, just a few sentences? What does it look like?
It's just kind of like bullet points.
Okay.
Like
one full page.
Yeah,
Maybe.
just like iPhone notes.
Okay.
And just kind of like very broad strokes, like kind of maybe describe the character a little bit, but just kind of here's how I'll start, here's how I'll end.
Mm-hmm.
And basically just from there, once I kind of get like overall feedback, like, oh, that'd be cool, and then I kind of get the confidence to just pursue it. Mm-hmm. And the first draft probably took me about a week because up front there's a lot of dialogue, and there wasn't a ton of dialogue for the rest of the short, but I just needed some sort of monologue in a sense, even though it's broken apart, because Hopper doesn't speak throughout the entire short up until the very end, but it's quiet. I don't really want you to hear what he's saying because it's a little like it just gives off like a disturbing vibe to it.
Yeah.
But just to kind of like set this whole thing up, I needed kind of like not like an exposition dump, but just something almost like a play to just get the action forward, and that was pretty difficult.
Right.
But then as I kept going, like I just kind of found my way through this whole story. And then there's like a kind of like a psychedelic sequence that was kind of hard to write, so it was vaguely written.
Welcome. We are about to begin. Settle into your seat or wherever you feel most comfortable. Welcome to Project Bluebird. This program is designed to help better serve your mind and grow your consciousness. If you're listening to this tape, then you must have recently gone through a traumatic experience. Perhaps you have had intense migraines, brain fog, cognitive malfunction, hearing voices, etc. Your mind has been shattered, and we're here to help pick up the pieces. There will be many words spoken throughout the duration of this tape, and I want you to repeat each word after you first hear them. We want you to lose your state of being, then come back fully into our reality, a new man. Please do not pause this tape at any time, as it will break your flow of consciousness. Remember to keep up with the pace, and please do exactly as you are told. But first, close your eyes, sit back, and relax. Sky, grass, dirt, touch, feel, skin, warmth, woman, love, hate, anger, rage, aggression, riot, unrest.
How long do you think that process took from like idea to like I now have a script and I'm ready to...
I would say like a readable, okay, we can start from here, probably like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's not very long at all.
And then just from there, you're just constantly rewriting because you want to just like
But where you weren't ready to shoot.
Basically, when I had a draft that I was confident to just like, after having feedback from like close screenwriting friends.
Right.
I think I was in a good enough spot by like, let's say I had the idea in May. By like in the middle of June to late June, I was like, okay, I can start piecing this together, assembling a team.
Like pre-production, I'm just going to start thinking, okay.
Yeah.
That is pretty quick. That's great.
Yeah.
And then the shoot. So if you were starting pre-production in June somewhere, just in your mind, you're starting to gather.
Sure.
How long before you shoot it, edit it, get it out there?
Right. I was originally supposed to film on Labor Day weekend, but I'm the sole producer on this project, and it's a period piece.
Yeah.
And that means like everything in the frame can't exist, or
it has to be in that time.
It has to be in that time. So that took a lot of time, and just like a lot of like phone calls, emails, messaging. Like I had to get, I think like 2 or 3 locations fell through very late in the game. So just from that whole summer, that's what I was doing. Okay. It was like my a second job, pretty much.
Yeah, looking for the right place.
Yeah, and then about a year ago this time in October, shot it for 3 full days.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then editing, was that you, or did you have?
All me. So I would say I had it picture locked until like January 1st, and then I printed it like done like February 28th.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
So your backstory, like, how did you come into writing, directing, producing? How did that happen?
I mean, I've always kind of loved film. I think I wanted to act first, just when I was a kid. But then I realized I have kind of stage fright, so I don't really do that
That's
anymore.
not good.
Right? Yeah. But then I realized, like, oh, I think I like the whole machine of it more so than just acting. Like, I love the cinematography, music, how you can manipulate sound and.
How did you figure that out? Was it?
I think just through. I don't know. When I would watch films, I don't think I was just paying attention to the acting. I was paying attention to how it made me feel, and that was just every aspect of it.
So a self-education kind of is what it sounds like, or did you go to school?
I went to school. I went to Taylor University, which is a liberal arts Christian college. But I would say I learned more so after the fact.
Okay.
Because you learn by doing.
By doing it.
And that's how I kind of got into writing. Because nobody's going to just show up to your doorstep and say, make this movie. You have to kind of write it yourself, especially if you want to direct. So that's kind of how I've gotten into writing.
Okay. Yeah, it's working out for you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about some of your next projects, or where you want to take this project. What are you working on the most right now?
So I do have like a small, short horror film that I will hopefully be shooting in 2 weeks from this weekend. It'll be like
Here in Nashville?
Yes. So it's Halloween themed. It takes place in Halloween, and we're hoping to do it in one take.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is completely different from MK Ultraviolence, but that's what I want to do. I want to do something, a complete 180, still in the same genre, but just like not so like heavy-handed with the politics and the history. That was just like, it's if you're gonna do something historical, you kind of have to get it right as much as you can, and that was just in the back of my mind weighing on me. So this is just gonna be a completely different thing. And from writing standpoint, when I made this short, and while I was writing it, all through this past year, I've just been like, I'm not really done with this world, so I'm writing the first feature-length script for this short film.
For the MK Ultraviolence too.
Yes.
Okay, so this is, you do want that to become a full feature as well.
Yes, one day.
Well, let's see. We would love to know if you have any war stories from shooting the short for MK Ultraviolence.
On our first full day of shooting, which was on a Saturday, it was a 10-hour day, I get a call as I'm driving to the set from one of my lead actors who plays Reese.
Okay.
And he tells me he's just been in a car accident. Luckily he wasn't hurt or anything. He wasn't injured, but he was just like, I'm not going to be there for like 2 hours. So like, that threw me a curveball.
Sure.
Luckily he was fine.
You're like, not the way I want this to start.
Right. And then I get another call from my other actress who's in the short, Tori Simpson. And she said, the address took me an hour away from set. So it's just like, okay, well, we're just not going to shoot for 2 hours. When we get there, we're just going to wait. So we just had to shift everything back 2 or 3 hours. And constantly, like leading up, it looked like it was going to rain on the night that we shoot exteriors. Like it's all exterior in an open field.
Right.
So I was just like... just constantly with my AD, Taylor Dupuis, just like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to keep monitoring the weather and just like, let's shift this around. Let's make sure
You really got hit with quite a few
just like,
things.
That's just, and I'd learned like, that's filmmaking.
That's right. That's right. And now you get to tell me about it.
Right, yeah. I mean, it all paid off in the end.
Yeah.
And it was worth it. But I think when you have like horror stories or battle stories like that, it just makes the it just makes the effort so much more worth it.
That's right. It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to people who are starting out writing, screenwriting or wanting to get into filmmaking? What would be your best advice you could give them?
I think it sounds cheesy, but just do it.
Okay,
just,
that doesn't sound cheesy at all.
I think the more you do, the more you learn, the more you practice at your craft, the more you're going to get better at it, and the more confidence you build. With any sport, I mean, like Michael Jordan, every day when he was like 6 years old, all he was doing during the summer just like shooting hoops. That's all he did.
Right.
So it's just like try to write it yourself, get good feedback, and just make your own short and just keep doing it, even if it doesn't come to your expectations.
Right.
Just keep doing it.
That's right. That's right. You should make some bad things, get them out of the way.
Get it out of the way, and then just
keep going and
figure out what your taste is, figure out your voice, and that's going to take a while, especially if you're kind of young, like late teens, early 20s. It took me a while.
Right.
But
or even my age.
Right. I mean, anybody can start at
it
any
takes
time.
a while. It does. Yeah. I can agree more.
Yeah.
So where could people find out more about you or your projects, the Halloween short you're working on? How can people find this?
You can follow me on Instagram at jcurtismiller.
Okay.
And then I have a website, jcurtismillerfilm.com.
Okay.
I don't update that as much as I should, but Instagram is just where I've been constantly promoting
Putting
this
everything in
and
there. Okay.
updates and just what I'm working on.
Oh, great.
So.
Okay, cool. We'll check that out. Do you have any final words of wisdom? One last little nugget.
Try to get over the fear of failing, because failure is what's going to what defines you as a human. Even putting aside your films or your projects,
Right.
just learning from your mistakes and getting better after that, I think is the best thing a filmmaker can do. And just being bold. Don't wait for an opportunity, just make it yourself.
Do it. That is great. Just do it. I think there's a shoe that
Right.
came up with that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for visiting us. There's an open invitation to come back anytime,
Thank you.
especially if any of these other projects get out there. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And I'm Iris Johnston. Thanks for watching Page to Screen. Keep on writing and keep on learning. Yay.